I've come over now to my ironing surface. I have my iron all ready to go. It's nice and hot. I've got my pressing clappers and my ironing surface. So let's talk about a couple of these products before I get into the actual fusing of my interfacing. First of all, I have here a portable ironing surface. I use this all the time. I bring it with me if I'm going to any sewing retreats or anything like that. And this is from TNT Quilt Boards. It's fairly firm, which I like. It's not super soft, so it works really nicely for ironing. You don't want anything that's too squishy. Sometimes I'll use a wool mat. That's actually what's underneath this right now, but for demos, I'm going to use the board right here. I also have my pressing clappers. And I have the large and the small size, and I'm going to show you how to use these, but just in case you are unfamiliar with how pressing clappers work, what you're going to do with this, and you'll see there's a little ridge right here for my finger so it makes it nice and comfortable, is I'm going to use this to help distribute the heat from the top so that I can smooth out any wrinkles or bubbles that I get. And I'll show you that. I have a piece that's nice and wrinkled that I got prepared for you. The small size is great for smaller bags and for getting inside to small crevices that you need to press. This one I use a lot. I love the weight of it. When I'm making handles and I'm pressing handles, I can use this on top. It will help to add some weight to it and help to make it cool down a little bit slower. These are something that I discovered a few years ago. If you are a seamstress or if you've been sewing for a while, you probably have one of these. It might not look exactly like this. I had them a long time ago when I was in high school and making clothing, but of course I threw them out because I stopped making clothes. So I love the large and the small. I use them both, and I'm going to show you how to use those. Now let's talk about irons. I do not buy expensive irons. That's just a personal preference for me. I have killed a lot of irons, and I have found that the expensive ones for me don't last any longer than the less expensive ones. So this one that I'm using right now is a Sunbeam iron I picked up at Target. It's a 1400 watt. It does the job for me, and I really like it. Excuse me. I have my setting on linen, so it's as hot as it will go. I have my steam on medium. I can turn it off, which I do when I'm ironing handles so I don't hurt my fingers because I'm usually really close to the iron. It has the spray button and the steam button, so if I need to, I can add extra steam, and I do have some water in here. So what we're going to do is iron some Decor bond. And I've gone ahead and I've already cut out a piece of Decor bond and a piece of fabric. The Decor bond right here, this is the shiny side. So I'm going to always have that shiny side up. That's my adhesive side. This is the matte side. That's the non-fusible side. So I put that facing down. And I just put that on my ironing surface. So this is going to be the adhesive side, the shiny side. And I take my fabric wrong side down. Now, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the products that I use for interfacing, actually all of the products that I use, are not cotton-based. They're polyester-based. They're non-wovens. So what that means is the more heat I put directly on the back, on the interfacing, the more likely I am to shrivel it, to shrink it, and to get some wrinkles. So what I'm doing is I'm just working my way across. I don't put a lot of pressure on. I'm not pushing the iron hard. I'll add a little extra steam where I need to, trying not to overdo it and fog up the camera. But what I do is I just work my way around. I don't have a special magic technique where I start in a certain place, count, work over. I don't do anything like that. I just kind of work my way around. I usually will start on one of the edges. If it's a big piece, I might start in the middle and work my way out, but I'm not really doing anything that special. I'm just kind of taking my time, concentrating on the corners to make sure that those stick. And what I'll do is, now I feel like it's adhered, I'm going to turn it over and take a look. I'm going to see, that's not moving. That's not moving. I think I got it. Sometimes with a larger piece of fabric, especially towards the center, you might find some bubbles where it didn't adhere. If I have to iron on the back side, I can, but I try to keep it limited and quick. And you'll see that even just from that, my edge started to curl up. The interfacing really works best on this side. And now because I did that, I added a little bit too much heat. I'm getting some wrinkles, and this is where my pressing clapper will come in. While it's warm, I use my clapper, and I can leave it. I can just walk away and let that cool slowly, which is what the clapper will help it do. Or I can kind of just move it around, and that's going to smooth it out, and now I don't have any wrinkles. Now this piece right here, I made sure to over iron as much as I could. I wanted as many wrinkles as I could get in here so I could show you how to fix those. This happens a lot. It's sometimes because we're holding the iron for too long, and sometimes it's because we're ironing on the backside too much. So what I'm doing is just warming this up for a few seconds, and I'm going to take my pressing clapper and I'm just going to kind of slowly move it back and forth. The clapper, the wood part, is getting warm. And I'm not going to come over here. I'm just going to do this side to show you. And just like that, that smooths right out. That's going to happen when you turn your bag right side out sometimes too. And that I know causes a lot of frustration for people because they get it like this and then it's moved around and it's turned and it turns and now my bag looks like this. And I don't want all these wrinkles here. This is the outside of my bag. I want it to look nice and pretty. Sometimes if I need to, I'll give it a little spritz of water. You can keep a water bottle next to you as well. Give that an iron. Oops, excuse me, sorry about that. Right there is a big wrinkle. I just want to, dampen that a little bit and then use my clapper and just keep going. What you don't want to do with these interfacings is over iron and keep the iron to the fabric side as much as you possibly can, if not completely. So that's how I iron my Decor bond. So let's take a look here. I already have this one done and I cut specifically a piece of fleece for it. I cut my fleece about 1/4 of an inch short all the way around, so about a 1/2 inch in the top and the sides. That way it's not going to get caught in my seam allowance. And what I like to do with this to make sure this adheres, I've already gotten my interfacing adhered on here. I'm going to take this with the bumpy side up. Hopefully you can see those bumps. I put that bumpy side up, which is the glue side, and I take this and I put it right side down, or wrong side down, excuse me. And I'll just make sure that's pretty even. I'm going to take my iron and just for a few seconds run the iron with a little steam over top. That helps to soften the glue. When I turn it, it's not adhered, which is that's okay. When I turn it, I can adjust a little bit here. And now when I start to iron around the edges, it's not going to shrivel. Sometimes fusible fleece, when you get real close on the edge, can shrink up and you'll get these weird little spots. It's really not a big deal. Don't stress about it. Your bag will still look fine. But this will help you to get it to adhere better and to not do that. And now you can see, I just use a little steam. I always use steam. Whether you do when you're quilting or doing other sewing or not, I always use steam with bag making. And now my fusible fleece is adhered. Again, bigger pieces are going to take more time and a little bit more concentration, but the more you do this from the fabric side, the better you'll be, and just take your time with it. Don't try to rush through your interfacing. That's what's going to make it not stick. And then when it's time to work on your project, let's say you're prepping for an online class that you're taking, you do all your prep work and now it's time to sew and this isn't stuck and that's not stuck. It's probably because you rushed a little bit. Make sure your iron is super hot and don't be afraid to use steam. So I also have here this piece of fabric, which I've already adhered my Decoville to. This is the Decoville Light, so you can see how they look. The Decoville Light is almost completely opaque. You can barely see the fabric through. The Decor bond's a little bit lighter. They're similar in weight, but this one is a little bit heavier, but they can be interchanged. One thing I do like about this one is that I can iron on the back if I need to, and it actually goes very, very smoothly. It doesn't affect it. And I can iron from the front, just like I do. So I treat this just like I would Decor bond, but if I have to iron on the back, it is a little bit more forgiving. So now we're going to go back over to the other side and we're going to start talking about zippers.